Welcome in, guys. This is the Cover 5 podcast. I am your host. You can find me over on Twitter at Jordan Vanek DFS. As always, I'm joined by my co-host at HiloFF over on the Twitter. Welcome to the Week 18, pretty much preseason slate, and then a few teams that are just playing their starters against bad teams and matchups where probably see some onslaught stacks and a bunch of different things happening this weekend. There's teams that are playing for something, there's teams that are playing for nothing, and me and Hilo will be breaking down our 5 favorite games for this weekend. Hilo, how do you go about just thought process on this week 18 slate?
I think it starts with embracing uncertainty where the field is not. There's a couple of offenses that I think that is most pertinent to that we're going to talk about today. The field is going to be extremely drawn to the perceived certainty of we know these backups are going to be playing a lot. So that's like your Jordan Masons, that's like your Cedric Tillmans, that's like these guys that have not necessarily shown a ton at the professional level, but they're going to get playing time. And we know with a high degree of certainty that they will get that playing time this week.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have the other side of the coin where it's Dan Campbell has said that he's going to treat this like any old game, but the Lions players are not expected to garner a ton of ownership. What if they just play the whole game because they still have an outside chance at the number 2 seed? What if the Dallas Cowboys hang a 45 burger on the Washington Commanders again? And what if they're play the whole game? Because they should have last season's week 17 game where they came in flat against the same Commanders team and got blown out 26-3 or 6 or something crazy. So I don't know, what embracing the uncertainty on offenses that we know to be good on primary NFL caliber talent in ways that the field is not is kind of how I'm viewing this slate. So it's kind of I view this slate as kind of like a game theorist's perfect slate because it's just riddled with uncertainty. The field is trying to place their bets on perceived certainty, and I can just go bet on good players on good teams when the field isn't. That just sounds like a good deal. I'm gonna do that.
That makes a lot of sense, but let's kick it off. Let's go to our first matchup. You are taking the NFC East game between the Philadelphia Eagles traveling to New York to take on the Giants. How are you playing this specific game?
It's going to be with Philadelphia. And this is another spot where there's a lot going on behind the scenes. We have Devontae Smith, who picked up an ankle injury, left the field on crutches and a walking boot, probably not going to play regardless. But then you have A.J. Brown in I don't want to place a label on it, but some people are calling it a diva hissy fit for the second time this season, where he's I need the ball more. He's not wrong, but it's also a function of some outside pressure, ownership, fans being placed on Sirianni is you should run the football. And he's so they tried to run the football against the Cardinals and they lost, dropped from the 1 seed to the 5 seed. So there's just a lot of uncertainty, but playing against a Giants team that we know runs a lot of man coverage, they run a lot of cover 3. We know they blitz a lot, and we know they don't necessarily hit home a lot. That is the most beautiful matchup we could ask for one AJ Brown. And so if he plays 3 quarters, if he plays an entire game, we don't know. The Eagles would be smarter potentially, depending on how you land on this whole situation, this whole discussion of do we sit players, do we maintain our momentum? Well, their momentum is shit to begin with. So I don't know. The point here is we don't know what we don't know, and we have to accept that to be able to see the spots where we can still capture upside where the field isn't. The fact that this game is in the afternoon portion of the slate kind of amplifies that, makes people more uncomfortable to go to Philadelphia players. So I mean, if you build a shell with on the main slate, it's more important, this discussion, to leverage this upside on the main slate as opposed to saying, well, I can just wait until the afternoon slate when we get more information. It's yeah, so can everybody else. So build some Eagles Jalen Hurts plus AJ Brown, throw in another player if you want, and that gives you a lot of flexibility still with the amount of salary that you've allocated to that to move off to one of these other late games, or ride with it. If I build a shell and I have, we'll say, 4 out of my 9 players on the early slate, on the early portion of the slate, and it's very interesting too, because like half the games are in the early portion and half of them are in the later portion. So if I build like a shell, half of my players, 4 out of 9 are in the early portion, and they all smash. Well, now I'm in a position where I don't necessarily have to take that risk, but depending on like the projected ownership of Eagles, I might still roll that risk, because again, first place is all that matters, and this one slate can make the next 5 seasons. So yeah, I mean, it's a very interesting game theory stance to take on the Eagles this week, because we know they're a good offense. We know they can put up points. We know AJ Brown is good at football. We know Jalen Hurts is good at football. We're not betting on Jordan Mason or Cedric Tillman or Rashad Bateman. We're placing our bets on like solid NFL talent and a solid NFL offense coached by a solid NFL coach. And we're just embracing the uncertainty of, we don't know how much we don't know how much playing time the primary skill position players are going to get. So yeah, you can play it just a 3-man onslaught from the Eagles. You can add a bring back because the Giants players are cheap. It's just a good spot, I think, to take a leveraged gamble this week.
Yeah, and the last time that AJ Brown complained about not getting the ball enough, it was week 2 against Minnesota Vikings.
Yeah,
after he
set
received
records.
6 targets. And then the next week he had 14 targets, 131, then 175 and 2, and just so on and so on. Went for like a 6-week stretch of over 125, which is the NFL record. So AJ Brown in this matchup he's supposed to smash. Like, he is supposed to go out there and against a man coverage look, against a rookie corner who's really, really good. Deonte Banks is one of the better corners from this past year's draft and has played extremely well. Physically, AJ Brown should be able to win this matchup. And then Jalen Hurts in this offense, like they have to find something. Like they can't, there's no identity. They don't have one this year. They don't have one going into the playoffs. And it's week 18. Like I think the idea of like, well, if they see the Cowboys blowing out the Commanders, like they're just gonna, stop getting all their guys. I disagree. Like, if they're gonna play in this football game, well, they need to just establish themselves. It's not about it. Yes, winning the division's cool. Yes, seeing the Cowboys being up big on the Commanders would obviously make it like hey, at halftime, how are we going to treat this? And probably pull their starters if it's a really bad game in Dallas. But at the end of the day, in that first half, when they're going all cylinders, like, you can't play football half speed. If you do, that's when injuries happen. That's when bad things, transpire. So if the Eagles are going out there, I think that AJ Brown and company, it might only be 2 to 3 drives. But AJ Brown somehow gets to 130 and 2 because of it. Like, he's capable of having all these explosive plays against this look. It's just a matter of getting it done. So I do love AJ Brown here. And with Tyrod playing, I believe he on the injury report. No, I think he
was limited both practices, I think, to start the week. I didn't see today's.
With Tyrod on the regardless, with Tyrod at quarterback, I have interest in all the pass catchers. Tyrod doesn't want to take hits and he wants to launch it. Like, it's awesome watching him play. It's similar to what Joe Flacco's doing, who they used to be teammates over in Baltimore. It's not as good because Joe Flacco's obviously been dominant and Tyrod plays for the Giants. It's a little bit different there, but Darius Slayton, Jalen Hyatt, Wan'Dale Robinson, no problem playing any of them. If I'm playing AJ Brown, Wan'Dale obviously is the lowest upside play, but Darius Slayton, we both said it last week. It's like the go route against the Rams. Like, they're going to give it up. The Eagles corners can't defend it either. They haven't been able to figure out anything. And Tyrod Taylor came in at halftime and threw like a 70-yard bomb to Darius Slayton. So, like, it wouldn't surprise me if they get him going. And then also, you just play Jalen Hyatt a full route tree, right? Like, it's the last week of the season. It's your rookie.
I would think, man.
You'd assume. So I'm hoping he gets out there, but that's all I really have to add there. I remember they ran outside zone for one play with DeAndre Swift, and it was really cool against the Giants. And then they just didn't run it. I hope they run that. I hate Swift's usage from he never gets the 1 yard line touch. So it's like, why even bother? But I do like DeAndre Swift as a player, and I think he could have a good game on the ground, but his price is just not something I'm going to get to this particular week. So yes, I agree.
Devonta Smith was literally ruled out while you were speaking. So
perfect. So AJ Brown's going to get, like, if he plays the first half, he's still going to get 7 targets.
Yeah,
like if Jalen Hurts throws the ball 18 times, he's getting 7. Like, I can't imagine he gets any like fewer than that. But anywho, that's all I have to add about this game. Not really interested in Tyrod. Don't hate it, but obviously not gonna love it just because of the rest of the slate. There's a quarterback in particular that I'll talk about in a little bit that I will be playing at a high rate. But moving forward, Minnesota Vikings playing the Detroit Lions. The Detroit Lions are coming off of the really upsetting game. Obviously, Dan Campbell's very passionate, man, and that I can't believe he went for it after all the penalties. It was just wild to watch.
The second time was egregious. The third time, okay, but
whatever. He's committed. But regardless, this is a game where he's been preaching about this whole, like, we're going to play our guys. Like, if they do, they're going to be able to put up points against the Minnesota Vikings, who are not playing for anything. But it's a spot where, like, why? Like, at a certain point, it becomes a question of what are you really accomplishing right now? The Detroit Lions, to me, are a team, they're going to come out and fight. Like, they're going to be very aggressive early on in the game. And the Vikings are kind of in a standpoint of, like, we don't have our we don't have a good quarterback. We keep playing this carousel there. Like, who are we playing for? Who are we, trying to get into? Who are we trying to develop? And for me, I'm hoping that's Jordan Addison. I hope this is a game for him to kind of be utilized a lot more. I know Nick Mullins is playing quarterback because they just keep switching it around. But for me, Justin Jefferson, like, what's your big motivation here? Like, what's the thing that's, like, other than playing football, you're not playing for a postseason berth. I believe they're eliminated, correct?
No, they can still get in, but they need a win and 3 losses. They need a loss by the Packers, they need a loss by the Seahawks, and they need a loss by the Saints.
I mean, I guess that's very viable, but still, it's not a spot for me where Justin Jefferson's like he should be must-have against Detroit Lions normally, but with Nick Mullins, I'm fearful of that guy putting him in harm's way. Like, it's as crazy as it sounds.
Happened once.
It's happened twice. It's just they missed the other time. Like, he's put him in bad spots, but regardless, like, it's a game where there's a lot of uncertainty. I think if you pick Lions players, their top guys, you just game stack it because that's the way it goes. If it's going to be a shootout, it's going to be a shootout. I personally think the Lions are going to treat this the way the Packers did against them a few years back, where Aaron Rodgers played in week 18 with, like, Devontae Adams and all of them, and they played till halftime, and, like, Rodgers had like 180 and 2 touchdowns at halftime. And I was watching it, I'm like, this dude's really just going to go out here and play his guys, huh? Like, Devontae Adams had like 4 catches. Allen Lazard had like 7 for 90 at halftime or something crazy. And I think the Detroit Lions will play it like that, where the first half they're going to get their guys, and then the second half they're just going to let their backups play. But that's just me guessing and not necessarily this way I'm going to play it. As far as Minnesota goes, again, I don't think you want to run the ball against Detroit. Their run defense is really good. Obviously, if they get to their backups, like Ty Chandler can break one. I think this is a game for me where I like Jordan Addison over Jay Jettas. How are you treating this one?
I think this is a very interesting game for many correlations. Pick a Detroit Lions player, and I want Justin Jefferson on the other side. You look at his last 3 games, even, as they're nothing changed over the last.
You don't take the 4th game where he got absolutely shut down because they doubled him, you loser.
Yeah, well, I mean, that was a different situation. The Lions don't do that.
That's fair. They could. I mean,
the Lions don't do that. I mean, because that would mean they can't blitz as much, and they're not going to do that.
That's true.
I don't know. You look at the last 3 games, like Justin Jefferson, 10 targets each game. There has been only 2 players that have seen over 6 targets. Jordan Addison saw 6 in one game over the last 3-game stretch, put up over 100 yards and 2 scores in it. But the only 2 players to see 7 targets over the last 3 games were Johnny Munt and KJ Osborne. It's like, okay, if that is the state of this team right now, I'm just going to place my money on Justin Jefferson.
That's fair.
Jordan Addison is a legitimate NFL caliber, pro-ready wide receiver. He was one of my favorite wide receivers coming out of this class. I thought he landed in a perfect landing spot for his skill set. But a lot of his route tree is over the middle of the field routes. And that is right into the only strength of this Detroit defense in rookie, slot corner, converted safety, whatever you want to call him, nickel, Brian Burns. So
Brian Branch.
Sorry.
Panthers. Come on.
Thank you. Sorry. Yeah.
Who
wants to talk
about
that?
Bama guy. I absolutely love Brian Branch. I do agree that he's made a lot of plays. He's also getting beaten quite a bit. It's weird. It's a weird thing with it. I mean, he's a rookie safety that's playing nickel. Like,
yeah.
I also think that he's supposed to be playing the safety role while Chauncey Gardner-Johnson's supposed to be playing this.
Mm-hmm.
But with Chauncey going down, it was just like, all right, whatever, go at it. And then he
just
dominated in that Chiefs game. That Chiefs game, he went crazy.
He's a legitimate talent. But yeah, he came into the league as a safety, was converted after the CJ, whatever.
Chauncey Gardner-Johnson.
Yeah. Put together those initials, whatever. Starts with a C. But yeah, so I don't know. I feel like the Lions have been most susceptible to deep and perimeter. Jordan Addison is running a lot more intermediate and over the middle of the field. So this is just a spot where I think the Vikings, they have to just feel like they still have a chance because they have not been mathematically eliminated. If that's the case, like, it just screams Justin Jefferson to me. So I want to have Justin Jefferson, and I lean, because the matchup on the ground is poor, because of the split backfield, because Sam Laporta is less likely to see elite volume. I still lean Amon-Ra St. Brown, and Jameson Williams was just ruled out while we were talking as well. So it's probably going to be a case of this is Sam Laporta and this is Amon-Ra St. Brown through the air, because they're probably going to have Khalif Raymond mixing in with Josh Reynolds. Josh Reynolds, more of an X-type possession-y style wide receiver. He works the middle of the field well. And Khalif Raymond has the wheels. I was like praying for them to utilize him in a deep role all like for the first 6 weeks of the season while JMO was out. They never did. He'd had like 2 downfield looks that in the entire first 6 weeks, and they came in like the last 2 weeks of his suspension. But
it's just how golf works, man.
Yeah, dude. So like that kind of removes Khalif Raymond, that kind of removes Josh Reynolds for any meaningful upside. So I kind of just want to like mini correlate Amon-Ra St. Brown and Justin Jefferson and say, like, if this game turns into a shootout, it could be primarily through those 2 guys. It's one of those like lopsided risk reward type plays, I think, that carries a lot of upside at what should be rather modest ownership combined between those 2. Everyone's going to want to play like CeeDee Lamb.
Yeah, I've seen a decent amount go to Jay Jettas, but regardless, that's just I agree with the idea of like a mini stack in this. I don't want to play the quarterbacks. I don't see either of these quarterbacks being GPP guys. I know that they just had pretty good weeks the last time they played. Nick Mullins threw for 400 yards, but I don't think that the Lions are going to push that pace. Like I don't think the pace of the game is going to be treated like a normal game. I feel like a lot of these teams should be playing less. No, yeah. If it does, it's going to have to go.
What if Dan Campbell? What if Dan Campbell is just pissed off at the fucking world right now? What if like he wants to go make a statement? I don't know. It's an NFC North. I don't know, dude.
They won the North. The North is theirs. They don't need to think about it. They're doing a whole parade thing before the game. Just you won the North, dude. Go. I mean, I don't know.
We're talking about the guy who went for 4th.
Dan Campbell should save all this energy for when they have to play Matt Stafford in Detroit. That's what he should do, because when they play Matt Stafford in Detroit in the wild card round, that's terrifying.
That's another interesting aspect of this entire week is the Rams are resting all their players.
Yeah, they're still favorites by like 5.
I know, but they're still favorites against San Francisco. If the Rams lose and the Packers win, the Packers go to Detroit.
Yeah,
which is that's a softer matchup for the Lions. So I don't know. There's just so many variables.
They just got whooped by the Packers, though.
Yeah, there's so many variables. Yeah, and that's an interesting point for like your playoff best ball contests and stuff. Is like the Packers win this weekend, they make the playoffs, and the Rams lose. The Packers have a better chance of winning a game than the
Mhm.
Rams do. So the Rams would have to travel to Dallas and go play in Jerry World. Like
Yeah.
that could shake some. I don't know. It's very. There's a lot of interesting dynamics at play. So my whole thing this weekend is like, what if?
Yeah,
And
that's fair. I
I
mean,
want to leverage those what ifs a little bit heavier than I think the field is going to.
that's totally fair. But let's go forward. Let's go. You mentioned Jerry World, so let's talk about the team that I think will be the chalk team of the week, Dallas Cowboys against the Washington Commanders. How are you playing Dallas this weekend?
This is another very interesting discussion to be had because this is another game where we don't know how much the Cowboys starters are going to play, but the field is likely to just think that, like, the field is likely to overinvest in Dallas, whereas, like, not play AJ Brown or not play Amon-Ra St. Brown. Where all these offenses are like the same thing. Like, yes, they have a little tiny bit to play for, but like, if the Cowboys are up 30-0 at halftime, and they score 3 touchdowns and kick 3 field goals, like, are they going to trot out Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb in the second half? I don't know. How likely would it be for CeeDee Lamb to score multiple of those touchdowns? I don't know. But the field is just saying, like, yeah, CeeDee Lamb's good for 102 here, no doubt. I'm going to just write it in pen. Maybe, like, maybe. But, like, at the same time, you have all these other spots. So I want to talk about this game for the other side of this discussion. Whereas, like, there's still uncertainty in this game, but the field is placing their bets heavier in this spot. So it's a very unique situation where you can just place like leveraged bets in other spots. Or, I mean, you could place your bet on Tony Pollard. Like, the Commanders have been atrocious against the run since shifting to a heavier emphasis on cover 2. They've given up like 6 out of 7 last weeks. They've given up RB1 production. 5 of those weeks, they've given up top 5 RB production. So
No, I love Pollard. I was going
Tony
to say that
Pollard, maybe?
the way I'm playing this game is Pollard and Dallas defense.
Yeah, I think
I
that's
think that
viable.
they're gonna freaking. I mean, they're gonna get after Howell. Like, it's just Howell was awful in that first game, late on stuff, like a bunch of
Yeah.
different situations. So it's like, for me, Pollard and Howell, or Pollard and Dallas DST. And if I don't do that, I mean, I'm gonna say his
There's
name, Brian Robinson. If
yeah.
the Cowboys have been pounded by those physical running backs all season long. That is their emphasis of teams, like the way that they win with, James Conner. Obviously the 49ers just blitzed them, but like those power backs, even James Cook was just fucking just pounding it away. So like, for me, Washington, if this game fails, I want to bet on this game failing. It's pretty much
Yeah.
where I'm at. And Brian Robinson would be a good way to do it because nobody's going to play Brian Robinson. He's very cheap, and it's like, yeah, he came back last week for his first week being healthy, and he had 4 catches, which is just wild for me to see that. And he played 54% of the snaps, and he had 9 carries. Like, this is a game where he's probably going to get an uptick in carries. Like,
Yeah. There's also like it's worth mentioning that like a valid outcome from this game environment is like the Cowboys are up 24-0 at half, and they don't play their regular skill position players in the second half. And it's like Rico Dowdle is healthy now. So what if Tony Pollard scores one of the touchdowns in the first half? What if CD scores one? What if Jake Ferguson scores one and Dak only tosses for 2-10-2 and everyone fails? Like, that is a valid outcome as well that I think is going to be not fully explored, I think, by the field. So it's like, if I'm almost more inclined to completely fade this game if I am not going like Dak Prescott plus CeeDee Lamb plus another Cowboy. So which is viable too. I mean, what if they just play the whole game? So it's just leveraging those what ifs in the smartest way possible, I think, is to fully stay away or go like fully in. And I think you can do that in some interesting ways as well.
that's fair. I think that I will be playing Pollard and the DST if I choose, and if not, I'm just not playing CeeDee Lamb. And CeeDee Lamb's in a
Yeah.
great spot. It's not. I'm going late this weekend from like money perspective and how I'm going about things. That's just the way I treat this week every year. I prepare for playoffs. I try to watch the games that matter most and just get feels for what is working against these teams that are in playoff matchups. Like, biggest game obviously is Buffalo Miami, but like the Texans Colts game, I'll be locked
Ooh,
into.
doggy.
That
Dude,
that that is
that game is going to be one of the cooler chess matches of the season.
Oh yeah.
You have
And
Bobby
D'Amico
Slowick.
D'Amico's finally running that San Fran
Yeah.
scheme, man. It's so nice.
Dude.
So nice to see.
Steichen against D'Amico, and then on the other side, you got Bobby Slowick against Gus Bradley. That's going to be doggy. Let's
It's
go.
gonna be fun. But
Anyway.
moving forward, speaking of, I mentioned earlier that I was going to play a quarterback that I absolutely loved here. Quarterback is Justin Fields. They're playing the Green Bay Packers here, and the reason why I'm playing Justin Fields is we want to talk about motivation. Like you want to, like, obviously these athletes are playing football. They're getting paid. They're going out there. They're competing. Justin Fields is playing for his job next year. Justin Fields is playing against a team that has basically been the big brother forever, your Green Bay Packers.
Yeah.
Jordan Love has never lost to the Green Bay Packers. It's Matt LaFleur has never lost to the Bears. Sorry.
Yeah.
Like Justin Fields is entering into a matchup where we know he's playing for his job. We know he's playing for jobs elsewhere. We know the situation of the team has been good lately. Like the Chicago Bears have been a very good football team. Their defense has been probably the best in the league since they got Phil Snow and Montez Sweat in there. And you enter into a spot against the Green Bay Packers where they've beaten them all these times. And we know Joe Barry's defense is extremely soft. Like, let's say it for the way it is. I think this is a game for the Bears to go into Lambeau, get a chance to eliminate the biggest rival that they have, the team that has just beaten them senseless for the last 4 years, in a spot where Justin Fields is starting to win this fan base. This whole fan base, through the Twitter that I'm on, like seeing everybody talk about it, it's, hey, Justin Fields is our guy. Like, let's just do what we did last year. Trade the number 1 overall pick, get a DJ Moore level player, and then just rock it out. It's like, come on. Like, what are we doing here? For me, I want Justin Fields in this game because I think he's going to be a willing runner. I think the red zone usage of him is going to be very high. I don't think this Green Bay Packers defense is good. I think that DJ Moore, now that they've really established like that connection, it's an easy, I'm just playing him and I'm playing DJ Moore and I'm not thinking about anything else. And then on the Packers side of things, the Packers are really simple. They're beat to shreds everywhere on offense right now.
Yeah.
Their receiver position it's just a nightmare to look at. Like it's like who are these guys? When did they get on your team? And yeah, they're going to have opportunities, but the player that's going to have the most opportunities, as long as he's healthy, is Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones is in a spot for me. He went nuclear against them the first time where he pulled his hammy in Chicago.
Yeah.
But regardless, the biggest thing about the Bears is they're trying to prevent people throwing it down the field. That's why Flacco threw 3 or 4 picks. But then once Flacco is like, let me just hit David Njoku on a drag. And then Njoku like broke 2 tackles and then went for 20 yards. It's like, wait a minute. Amari Cooper on a drag. Let's keep doing this drag thing.
Yeah.
This is a spot where Aaron Jones, against from a screen perspective, from just a swing pass, like I think he has a chance to catch 8 passes in this game. Like, I think from a touch perspective, I think he's going to get like 15 carries and like 8 targets, 8 to 10. And Jordan Love's going to be in a standpoint of like, I don't have anybody to throw it to. I'm going to have to just give it to my best player. And the best player on the Packers right now is Aaron Jones. And I know he's limited. I know he's been through a bunch of injuries. He's always in this weird injury nonsense. Against the Bears in week 1, Aaron Jones had 11 touches and finished with 130 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Like, I think this is a good spot for him and one that I will be attacking. And it's a really easy game stack. You just Aaron Jones, DJ Moore, and Justin Fields. And I'm not really worried about game script with Aaron Jones. Are you playing this one? Or are you saying that the Packers are going to dominate because I'm a Packers fan and I hate you for having always good quarterback play, by the way. Just want to let you know. That the fact that Jordan Love is actually good at football is really upsetting to me.
Yeah.
Because you don't get to go through the year. I've been.
Maybe it's just that we don't have an owner to pour drinks on people.
Come on, dude.
Sorry, dude. Sorry.
But no, it's a spot where like you guys are just blessed with quarterback play because Jordan Love's been good.
He's been good.
And your receiving core, oh my god, you guys absolutely destroyed the draft from just like because you don't have a guy that like you're gonna have to pay a ton of money, and I think
For
everybody
4
knows
more
it.
years.
Yeah, it's like, and it's like in a situation where like we're not really paying Jordan Love like that crazy. Like you guys could go into the draft this year if you end up losing and get a high enough pick, and like Romo Dunze stares at you, like you just take him. And you're like, all right,
Well,
what do we got?
we don't take offense in the first round, dude.
Oh yeah, I forgot. You got to keep drafting defense for a defense that's never
Yeah.
in the top 10. That's good.
Yep. Yep.
All right,
Yep. Yep.
all right. Well, how
No,
are you
I
feeling?
love the Aaron Jones call. AJ Dillon was just ruled out an hour ago.
Yeah.
Aaron Jones should have the backfield largely to himself. Patrick Taylor will enter the primary change of pace role, but it's going to be Aaron Jones' backfield. I mean, his consecutive weeks with 20 carries or more. We talked about how they utilized him in the first matchup. And now, over the course of the full season, the Chicago Bears have given up the most fantasy points to running backs through the air. So, yeah, it's a lovely spot. I love it. There's all kinds of uncertainty with the Packers pass catchers. Christian Watson, Jaden Reed, and Dontavian Wicks are all questionable. Of those three, I think it's probably Jaden Reed that has the best chance of playing. He's been on the injury report with a chest injury for 4 weeks now. He ended up missing a game because of his toe injury 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Came back 89 yards and 2 touchdowns in the first half before he took a hard hit to the chest and then missed the second half last week. Jaden Reed is very, very interesting at only 5,700 in this spot against a Chicago Bears defense that, again, forces you to work the underneath intermediate areas behind their linebackers. So he's very interesting. Love the Aaron Jones call. I'm going to play devil's advocate just real quick for Chicago. 2 weeks ago, when the Chicago Bears were playing the Arizona Cardinals, we talked about how if aliens were invading, we used that alien thing. Remember that?
Yep.
If aliens were invading and I had to pick a defensive coordinator to go against alien Justin Fields, it would probably be Gannon in Arizona. Joe Barry's kind of the same in that he does not blitz. He's going to play soft zone, and he's going to make Justin Fields read, process, diagnose. That's kind of his Achilles heel at this point. If you had one bad thing to say about Justin Fields, it would be his ability to diagnose and make the correct throw based on what he's seeing. If you blitz Justin Fields, you make him just go do that football shit, like he's awesome. Make him escape, make him use the legs, make him make a split-second decision and then react. That's where Justin Fields is immensely talented. That's not really going to be what Joe Barry is going to do to Justin Fields this week. So the Packers play a ton of zone. DJ Moore has one of the highest man zone splits in the league this year. He's absolutely destroyed man coverage. He's been a little bit more human, above average, but still a little bit more human against zone. That's the other side of that discussion. I'm not going to discount anything that you brought up because all those things are valid. I think it just adds to the kind of wide range of outcomes from this game.
Of course. No, this is a whole slate of just we're sitting here because the one thing about the incentives thing that is always funny to me, the owners don't want them to hit their incentives.
Yeah, but there's some coaches that will help.
There's coaches in play. Yeah, those are the coaches that used to be former players.
Yeah,
like Dan Campbell. Hey, if you get a chance to do it, Tom Brady was awesome with that. That was the easiest one to bet. It's like whoever needs their incentive. Wasn't it Gronk was like, hey, I need one more catch.
Yeah, Gronk told Brady. Brady went to the coach and was like, hey, Gronk needs one catch or a touchdown for another 500, and he's like, done. Next play.
They just threw a screen, a turn, just go turn around.
Yeah.
It was awesome. But regardless, it just depends on your flavor of coaching. But do you have anything else you like to add before the Chicago wrapping it up?
Nope.
Okay. Let's move forward to the last game we're going to talk about. The Seattle Seahawks are traveling to Arizona. It's actually got the highest over-under on the entire slate, and that's just because the Arizona Cardinals do not die. We have talked about it all season where they don't care. They're just playing really hard because it seems like they actually believe in the coach, and it's really funny because during the offseason, I clowned him. Jonathan Gannon looked really weird, really stiff. You know what else did?
His intro to the team was like, what are you doing, dude?
Yeah, Nick Sirianni was the exact same way.
Yeah.
And their first season, not identical to this, but you got Jalen Hurts late in the year to start over Wentz. And then this year, Kyler's coming off an ACL, but then you win that big game against, I think it was the Saints with Drew Brees. and the the Cardinals just win their big game against the Eagles. So for
They
me,
beat the Eagles and the Cowboys already this year. It's like,
yeah,
what?
it's weird. They're weird. They're a weird bunch. They're a weird team. This is a spot where I'm gonna buy into this game because Vegas is telling me to do so. And the way that I'm gonna do it is by the player that was inactive in their first matchup. I think the Arizona Cardinals are gonna play their defense, the same defense that they played when they first played the Seahawks. And they didn't play DK Metcalf. And we had Jake Bobo go for 70 yards against them. I think DK Metcalf against quarters coverage is just a dominant player. This year, he's averaging over 4 yards per route run with DK or G. Smith back there. And obviously, we know Seattle's still fighting for their wild card and different things there. So I think this is a big game for DK Metcalf in particular. And on the flip side of things, I can't take anything away from James Conner. Like, that dude is just running extremely hard. I don't think I'm going to necessarily force the mini stack. He's just the one player that I'm staring at and I'm like, I don't care your matchup anymore. You're getting used like your Nick Chubb in the same system that the Arizona Cardinals ran, or the Cleveland Browns ran. Their
Yeah.
offensive coordinator is now the offensive coordinator of the Arizona Cardinals, and they're just running the ball really hard. They're getting into really good spots out leverage teams. I think Seattle's a little bit better on that side of the ball. So James Conner or Trey McBride are my two biggest interests. I don't really care to go to any of the receivers. I know how priced down they are. It's just one of those spots where Michael Wilson, Greg Dortch are fine, but they're now at prices where it's like, I want them to be 3K and I want them to get 12. Like now they're 4K, 44 and 46. And I'm like, well, if they get 12, that doesn't feel that great. Like it's good. It's a good score. But this week there's like, it's them versus Jordan Mason. And Jordan Mason's going to get a lot more touches than those guys are. And I know Trey McBride is inevitable, and I don't care that he's 6K. This man is just going to consistently put up, I don't know how many points. I don't know if I'm going to end up getting to him, but I know if I don't play him, he's going for at least 120. So it's just a matter of how he gets there. Seattle, middle of the field, is pretty vulnerable to my experience watching them. Bobby Wagner is not the same athlete. I don't care that he was a Pro Bowler. He shouldn't have been. And then if for whatever reason they decide that Jamal Adams gets to play snaps, whoever he's guarding, just go to that guy. So if it's Trey McBride, it's Trey McBride, and DK Metcalf is the smash play for me in this matchup. How are you feeling about this one?
Yeah, the Cardinals, what they're doing on offense is pretty cool. They're utilizing a lot of gap concepts, which is basically a down blocking run scheme. And what it does, it's designed to generate like double teams at the point of attack. So you're trying to create that gap by double teaming. They're not utilizing Trey McBride a ton as a blocker, so that means that's mostly straight up. But what they're doing is some interesting like gap concepts that include pulling guards and pulling tackles, which pulling tackles is something that has come into the league over the last 1 or 2 years. Like it hasn't been a long time. It's something that Bobby Slowick does a lot of, these pulling tackles. He does utilize the tight end to create those double teams off the edge. We're not necessarily seeing that with Drew Petzing, but we are seeing these gap concepts, and James Conner is a very, very good gap runner. He is very good at diagnosing where the gap is going to be in the offensive line, in the defensive line, and he's very, very good at reading the second layer, the linebackers. Yep. And that is translating to, with his size and his ability to explode through that hole, has been leading to the successes that we're seeing. The other interesting aspect, I love James Conner this week. The other interesting aspect is Kyler Murray, I think, and both quarterbacks to that point. Kyler Murray has always kind of, and I say always, like over the last 3 seasons, after his rookie season where he was just running wild.
Yeah.
In the last 3 seasons, like Kyler Murray, when he is banged up or when he's on the injury report, it doesn't matter what it has been, his rushing production has suffered. What we've seen over the last 4 weeks is it's starting to come back. He has 10 red zone carries in the last 4 games. He has 0 touchdowns to show for them, but that is going to come, and that could come and resurface this week. I would not be surprised if Kyler Murray went for 80 yards and a touchdown, maybe 2 on the ground in this spot. Yeah. So he's very, very interesting to me this week as well. His aerial options, man, he's up against it. And we see it because he is not targeting wide receivers. He's like, yeah, why would I target wide receivers when they're Greg Dortch and Rondale Moore? Design me something to throw the football beyond 4 yards of the line of scrimmage, and then I'll start targeting my wide receivers. So yeah, I mean, I think the Cardinals are very interesting. I think you can even run as much as a Kyler Murray double with James Conner because he is involved in the air, and Trey McBride. And I think you can get away with that. Bring it back with DK Metcalf. I think you can play both primary running backs from this game. Play James Conner and Kenneth Walker. I think that is totally viable. But yeah, this game carries a lot of upside. I haven't looked at ownership numbers. I don't know where the field is going to land, but there are some negative stigmas associated with each of these teams, so I can't imagine it getting too crazy. But yeah, I like this game a good deal, and I think you can do a lot of interesting things. Because the Seahawks and the Cardinals are considered slow-paced, low-volume offenses, it's going to take some spark. And I think the 2 likeliest places for that spark to come, because James Conner is who he is, because Kenneth Walker and Tyler Lockett and these other guys are kind of who they are. It's probably Kyler and or DK Metcalf as the igniting force behind this game kind of opening up. So I think those 2, one or the other, probably has to be in the lineup if you're playing players from this game. And then from there, I think you can branch out.
Yeah, I don't hate the Kyler side of things. I just, again, like you said, you're playing Kyler with James Conner and Trey McBride, and it's like, I'll just play one of those guys with DK Metcalf and go get myself some Justin Fields. I don't hate Geno Smith in this matchup. He's been one of the best quarterbacks against quarters, which is the exact scheme that the Arizona Cardinals run. The only thing with Geno Smith that scares me is just I don't know which one we're going to get. Like, there's games where it looks like he's the Jets Geno Smith, and then there's games where he looks like he has it again, but then like the touchdown production doesn't come, or like they just stall out in certain spots. Against Seattle or against Pittsburgh, it didn't look too great there. But when he played Dallas just 3 weeks ago or 4 weeks ago, he was phenomenal. And it always starts with DK Metcalf showing up and showing out. So DK Metcalf is the guy to have for me there. But moving forward to the last part of our show, we're going to do our favorite value and our slate breaker. I'll kick it to you, Hilo. Who is your favorite value?
We do this every week, and I'm like caught off guard every time.
Yeah, we do. We do this every week.
My favorite value is probably what's that?
I said my favorite value.
Yeah, I'm thinking, you jackass. My favorite value is probably Calvin Ridley. He could be in the slate breaker type discussion as well, but I think he qualifies as a value because that word is probably going to go largely misused this week. People are going to look at favorite value and they'll be like, we have a slew of players priced below 5K that everyone's going to try and jam in because we want to play both CeeDee Lamb and Justin Jefferson. I kind of view that word in a different realm, or I don't know what the fuck to call it, in a different light than the field is probably, just in a different way than the field is probably going to view it this week. A player that is underpriced for what the upside that they bring to the table. That's how I'll define value this week. And I think Calvin Ridley is probably one of the ultimate examples of that, primarily because if Christian Kirk comes back, he's min-priced. Everyone's going to want to jam him in. If everyone saw what Travis Etienne did last week against your team, everybody is going to flock to Evan Ingram because his recent target streak. It's like Calvin Ridley, this Tennessee Titans defense, they are built inside out. They struggle covering the perimeter. They struggle covering opposing wide receiver ones. They struggle covering the deep ball. And that is Calvin Ridley. So I think Calvin is one of the more underpriced players for his upside this week.
I am indecisive with my favorite value. You saying Calvin makes it nowhere near as easy because Calvin is a very, very good value this weekend, especially against the Tennessee Titans. Again, you mentioned it. They're just bad against deep stuff. Like, that's just who they are. And if Trevor Lawrence does give it a go, I'm much more inclined to go there. I personally think that the value, I'm going to chase the deep ball of Darius Slayton and Jalen Hyatt. Like, I did it last week. Every week that Tyrod Taylor drops back for quarterback, it's just so much more fun watching him do it because he just really tries to get it down there. And Jalen Hyatt had 2 30-yard catches called back because of holdings.
I know, dude. That was so
I was watching
annoying.
it, and I'm sitting there. I'm like, "There's
So
no way.
annoying.
There's no way that." And then
Slayton
Dory
got his
Jackson
way.
decided to not tackle Puka. Tried to like just strip him for some. I don't know what the purpose was of what he was trying to accomplish there. It looked like he was trying to strip him, but we're at the sidelines. Like, if you strip him, the ball is going out of bounds. And then, like, Puka spun and just went 80 yards up the field. It's pretty frustrating my aspect. But my slate breaker, to give you time to find yours,
I got it.
Mine's Jamar Chase. And if you try to take him, no, you can't
Nope,
take Jamar Chase.
I love it.
Cleveland Browns, Jim Schwartz, they're going to play cover 1, cover 3. They're going to blitz. They're going to play their normal defense. Obviously, they're going to have some defensive starters out there because they have to, but they have a lot of guys that they will be resting. And Jake Browning is playing for his job next year. And as long as Jamar Chase is suiting up, I think he's going to treat this game as a full go. He also doesn't like the Cleveland Browns. This game only has a 37-point over-under, but they're 7-point favorites in this one. So they're going to have to score points somehow. I think it starts with Jamar Chase. I think this is one of those games where like he could go absolutely nuclear because I know it doesn't matter too much, but like his stats and stuff, like he's still fighting to get a lucrative deal. He obviously will be looking to do so. And no T. Higgins. Browns are playing backup corners. They're going to give him single high. It's going to get ugly. And Jake Browning is going to want to feature him down the field and show like, hey guys, someone signed me to a starting quarterback job.
I can throw that way.
Come back, Minnesota. Let's go. Let's redo this one. But you pay me $20 million a year this time around. But Ilo, who's your slate breaker?
Yeah, I love that call before we get into mine. But mine, we talked about him already. It's AJ Brown. The upside that he has in the spot, priced as the second highest price wide receiver on the slate below CeeDee Lamb. I want to pair. One of my strategies this week is to see how many pay up wide receivers I can get in a lineup that are not named CeeDee Lamb. AJ Brown, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase,
Adam Thielen,
Calvin Ridley, not Adam Thielen. We should both play showdowns of each other's teams. So like you play the Green Bay showdown and I'll play the Panthers showdown.
Whoever scores more points wins.
Yeah.
Because you guys are actually going to score points, and the Panthers aren't.
Yeah,
we'll just play them next week in the playoffs.
All right, perfect. Yeah. I'll see you there.
Yeah.
Oh wait.
At least we have the number 1 overall pick.
Yeah. At least you earned that for somebody else. That's great.
In your division. God, I hate the Panthers, but that's just besides the fact. I love my team, but at the same time, it's just when you don't have good management, it's really hard to support. And I don't have good management, so I don't really support as much as I should, and it's okay. I'll eventually get back once we change things, but that's gonna be difficult. Anyways, Hilo, do you have anything else you'd like to add before we close up the slate?
Embrace the uncertainty smartly this week. So place some bets on places where people aren't on talented situations.
For me, my advice, I go light this week. That's just my personal preference. I do not go heavy onto a lot of the uncertainty that Hilo loves to play. That is where our styles differ. Hilo is a game theorist. I am someone that likes to know what's being done. And good luck to you guys for this upcoming weekend. We'll be back next week, I believe, to break down the playoffs, where we'll just talk about every game because there's only 6 of them next week. So might as well break down the whole slate there. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Be sure to subscribe, like, and be sure to check out both of our articles that will be coming out Saturday. Hilo will surely have some great thoughts on how to not play CeeDee Lamb. I will be probably telling you guys to play Justin Fields and maybe Geno Smith. We'll haven't fully got to where I am playing this weekend. See you guys. Have a good weekend.